Okay, awesome. Thank you all for joining us. Beginning of the summer, very hot summer here in Europe. So today the goal is to present you a little bit what we've been brewing in the security team and what's coming our ways on your ways on the projects. So a couple of various topics. So first one is about Mythos and Glasswing. So you may have heard about it, most certainly heard about the project Glasswing announced last beginning of April this year by Anthropic. So the goal of Project Glasswing was to grant access to a limited number of organization to a new frontier model called Claude Mythos. So if you've heard about Claude Opus or Claude Sonnet as models, Claude Mythos is just a model like them, but it's much more advanced in discovering vulnerabilities in software code. So the goal of Glasswing was to give early access to this new model, this very powerful model, so that the defenders could actually act before the attackers to discover vulnerabilities. So the Eclipse Foundation has been part of Glasswing from day one. We had access to Mythos a couple of days after the announcement, and we've used it to scan all of your repositories, so 3,000 Git repository, 420 plus projects, with some very interesting results. So the where we are at so far. So of course we stopped having access at some point in June. You might have heard that there has been some export control put on Mythos models and Fable from Anthropic, but before that we managed to gather a number of interesting data. And our goal, given that we didn't know for how long we would have access to Mythos, our goal was to scan as fast as we could and get as many reports, as many findings as we could in an unknown time frame. So we scanned about 3,000 repositories total, and we had about 1,200 findings. Those findings are ranging from critical to low, very low number, because the prompt and the harness that we were using were focusing and asking to focus only on the critical and high, but still it found some mediums that could be probably chained to get higher severities vulnerabilities. So among those 1,200 findings, we have about 3% of criticals and 30% of high. And what we're doing now is, of course, to report those findings to you, verifying first if those are valid, if they are not false positive. So for that, we are doing adversarial validation, verification. So we basically use another model, another harness to verify the report, to check if the vulnerability really exists and is not just hallucination. So that gives us or that reduces the chances or the risk of reporting to you all false positive. That would be just a waste of time. So we still have, of course, human in the loop to execute those adversarial findings or the adversarial verification, and also to report the findings to you. So either on GitLab or on GitHub if you use GitHub private vulnerability discovery reporting. Sorry. The goal eventually is to industrialize and provide that as a service. So we've used Mythos so far, and we've done that once, but we believe that it's the mission of the foundation to continuously scan and use those advanced frontier models to discover vulnerabilities and share them with you, Eclipse projects, and also start to work on harnesses to not only report the findings, but also help you implement the fixes. That's where LLMs are really good at. So that's where we are today. If you didn't receive any vulnerability report from us, it doesn't mean that we didn't find anything in your project. So most often, we basically found issues in all projects, but of course we are dealing with with our backlog in reverse order of severities. So we've dealt with critical. We are now still dealing with the high severities reporting, and we will go through the list in the next couple of weeks. For that, we actually have hired a couple of more people on the team to help us with that and also help us tools our processes of reporting and sharing with you projects. So then at the same time, not only us, well, we were scanning with Mythos, but the real impact of Glasswing has actually it has put on the spotlight, under the spotlight, that you can use AI to find vulnerabilities. And every security researchers, every script kiddies basically started to use AI to find vulnerabilities in projects. And we've observed a huge increase in vulnerability intake, in vulnerability reports that we receive on the various channels that we are listening to. So basically, we have seen 10x increase versus last year, and just in May, we've received as many reports as we got in full 2025. So just give you the trend there. So it just become unmanageable to say the least. And we were still accepting vulnerability reports by email until very recently. The issue is that with this volume, tracking emails, what has been reported, what is being processed, what has been closed, and so on, it just doesn't scale. We don't have any service desk system behind the email, and we decided that it was not a good solution. The better solution was just to stop accepting receiving vulnerability reports by email and enforce the usage of bug trackers that are very good at tracking eventually what is being processed. So now we only accept vulnerability reports on gitlab.eclipse.org/security. So that's where the common endpoint we ask reporters to use. And of course, if your project have GitHub private vulnerability report enabled for your GitHub repositories, they can also report there directly. And so that's the change that we've made. And since end of June, we have an autoresponder on security@eclipse-foundation.org email, so that any report will get this message, this autoresponder. Of course, we still monitor this email, and any messages that we receive on that email that are not vulnerability report, we will process them and answer to them as usual. So of course, given that we stopped accepting email as a channel for vulnerability report, it means that most certainly your security.md files are now out of date and require some changes. Given that we have autoresponder in place, that's not very high priority or super urgent to do, but still it would be better and easier for the security researchers that would like to report a vulnerability report for your project to have an up-to-date security MD file. So what we do is that we provide an updated template that you can use to update your security MD file. And from a couple of requests from the community, we've also created this baseline security MD file, so where the accepted channels are listed, for instance, and what we expect. What are the expectations for a good vulnerability report? So what you can do with this baseline is to just say, okay, in your security MD file, you can start by we follow, or you are expected to follow the rules from this baseline, and then you put everything that is very specific to your project, like the supported version, for which versions you accept vulnerability reports, and so on, below that. It means that if we ever have to change again the channels for accepting, for instance, vulnerability report, or we want to refine what are considered proper vulnerability reports, or what are the expectations from security researchers, then we will just update the baseline, and you won't have anything to do in your own file. So that's a great benefit. And last thing I wanted to talk with you about is some change around code signing. So you probably most certainly know about what is digital signatures, but code signing here, we are talking about everything that is ecosystem specific, that gives the ecosystem, the host, the ability to validate or to give advanced permissions to the binaries that are signed with a code signing certificate. So for instance, if you're on Windows, you know that if you start a binary that has not been signed, you will get the UAP, a big pop-up saying that be careful, this binary is not signed and so on. So in order to not have that, you have to sign your binaries with a code signing certificate. Same for the jars, specifically in the Eclipse IDE, but also on macOS, that's also a thing. If you want to not have if you want for Gatekeeper to let you run your application without any warning or without having to do additional steps, you have to sign your application. So as every year, we've just renewed our certificate, and those certificates were previously assigned or attached to the US entity identity. So when you were signing an application, it was said that signed by Eclipse.org Foundation Inc. So that was the official name of the US entity that was shut down end of last year. So we now have changed it to, of course, the Brussels entity, the official headquarters and the only headquarters of the foundation for the last 5 years. It has been quite an oversight for the last couple of years. It requires some verification and a lot of paperwork, but eventually we got there, and now we have the new official identity of the foundation. So don't be surprised if you see that. It's not an attack, it's not a supply chain attack or a malicious code signing certificate. It's changes that we made. And finally, so that was for the certificate. We are also evolving the services for code signing. So currently, if you want to code sign, to sign a binary or windows.exe or .app for macOS or your jars, you upload your binaries directly to cbi.eclipse.org/ the service that you want to use. And this relies on code that we developed in-house a while ago that run on our own infrastructure and so on. And we decided that this is an infrastructure that is critical for many projects, but that does not provide the scalability, security, and reliability features that we want and that you deserve. So for that, we are partnering with a code signing service, software as a service company called SignPath that provide exactly that. So very similar to this web service that we provide in-house. They provide the same, but with all the security features that a company can provide for such a service. So that will require some migration, but beyond the additional scalability, reliability, and security that the SignPath provides, it will also give us the ability to enable code signing directly from GitHub Actions. So currently, it has been limited to only Jenkins instances running at ci.eclipse.org, but now you will also be able to code sign from GitHub Actions. So it has been a request for quite a long time now. Many projects are migrating to GitHub Actions for many reasons, and providing code signing from there it was super important. And we didn't have the resources to evolve our in-house services to support GitHub Actions, and that's also one of the reasons why we are moving to SignPath. So we still have some details to finalize, particularly on the macOS signing part. We also already have a couple of projects that use this new signing infrastructure. So it's working and it's there. And we will share further updates very soon on the committer mailing list and with some blog posts. We don't expect a lot of issues, or we don't expect you to have any large-scale migration to do. For people who use projects that use jar signing, they will probably they will have to change the Maven plugin that they use for signing, but otherwise that will be exactly the same thing. And same for Windows and macOS signing. Actually, it will be different Maven plugin. There is also a CLI that you can use to directly call the API. The main difference is that for each project will have to request access to the service because we have to deploy credentials specific for each project so that we'll have clear security boundaries between each project, and they will each use their own authentication and credentials to use the SignPath service. So that is all for me. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm there till the end of the meeting, so really open and happy to answer any question. Thank you so much.